Hey guys, Average Scarecrow here with another Raid Shadow Legends showcase video. Today we're going to be doing a showcase on Mezomel Fang. She's a mythical attack-based champion, Spirit Affinity out of the Skinwalkers faction. Now, I have a few mythicals on my account. I have not all of the free ones, sorry. I'm still working towards the new Lizard, but I've got the Chimera with Empress. I've got Cursed City with, oh gosh, what's his name? He's right here. Carnage, sorry, and then I've got Mikage, the fusion one. I've actually got two Mikages because the first mythical I ever pulled out of a primal shard was a duplicate Mikage, so a little bit unlucky there. The second one I ever pulled was Mezomel Fang. Mezomel, I got her a month ago during that 2X event, sometime around then. My time frame's probably a little bit off. Probably you could make an argument that she is probably the mythical you would be least excited about pulling out of a primal shard. She has pretty bad reviews, and overall her kit just to me screams like very like legendary-esque. There's not a whole lot to it on the forums. You have like legendaries that I think have way better kits than she does. And overall, just pretty underwhelming as far as like damage goes and utility. And the unfortunate part is we've seen a lot of mythicals get some really great buffs. Geralt is a recent example of that. Geralt was she was good when she was first introduced, and then she got power crept quite a bit, and then they gave her an excellent buff with a lot of really great stuff like protected buffs, a lot of ignore mechanics, things like that, and I think just damage multiplier increases as well. I might be wrong about that, but overall they took Geralt from a champion who was good when she first came out, got power crept, and now she's back in the meta in a lot of different areas in the game. And I really hope that at some point they do the same with Mezomel. They did give her a buff. I don't remember exactly what the buff was, but in my opinion, even not really knowing what it was, it's not really enough. I think she needs something more. I think they need to add more to her kit. You can see here the reviews just really bad everywhere in the game. So I am going to do a showcase. I'm going to give her a fair shot. We're going to go arena for probably most of the video, and then we're going to do some damage testing and then some faction war stuff. We're going to start with the arena build, and we'll jump straight into arena. But first, let's go over the kit, the masteries, and the relic I have her in, if I even have her in a relic. I can't remember, to be honest with you. So on the first off, though, looks really cool. That's one thing that I think they really do a good job with all of these mythicals, is they make them all look really cool. The alternate form, dope. But the main form I actually think is cooler with the staff there. She's got like I think it's a deer. No, it's a wolf with a crown. Yeah, with the crescent. Yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, on the A1 here, we've got Moonclaw. It's a single target attack, which places drop defense for 2 turns. I mean, again, like, the first thing that comes into my mind is Queen of Hearts. She's a Void Legendary. So I would say that, Void Legendaries are supposed to be the tier underneath Mythicals. And Queen of Hearts has an AoE drop defense with a turn meter boost on the A1. It's a guaranteed 100% chance. You don't have to book it or anything. It's an AoE drop defense for 2 turns and 5% turn meter fill for all allies. So already this is a pretty weak mythical ability. If you added in some stuff like ignore mechanics or ignore defense, or if you made it maybe like a conditional, then attacks all other enemies who have X mechanic, right? Maybe they have true fear, and so she attacks everyone else. I don't know, but it's a pretty weak A1. On the A2, this is on a 4-turn cooldown, 3 when you book it. It's a single target attack, 2-time hitter with 15% ignore defense, and then ignores Stone Skin, Strengthen, Ally, Protect, and Shield, and places a block revive if the target is killed. Okay, so we've got a block revive mechanic. It's pretty good. Doesn't hit super hard, I'll be honest with you. In arena, I usually go faster speeds, lower attack. Or I'll go like, for example, like Stone Skin with some ignore defense. So the stats aren't super high, but we have some like protection and survivability. So But even when I was building her in like I had her in like a 9-piece merciless build, it still didn't hit super hard. I'm gonna be honest with you. So a little bit disappointing there. The block revive is nice, and then the ignore stone skin strength and ally protect and shield is also nice. However, I will say that currently we're starting to see a lot more unkillable and block damage back into the meta with like the Sir Nyx, the Helicath. Helicath is coming back with the Mercurial set. Odins have block damage on the passive. Starting to see more Odins in there. Naime, I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's got block damage on a passive. So block damage would be really nice here. Ignore block damage would be really nice. But overall, I will say that this is a pretty solid ability. And then on the A3, on the base form, we've got Moonlight Gift. This is on a 6-turn cooldown, 5 when booked. Increase attack, increase crit rate, and increase crit damage on this champion for 3 turns, and then grants an extra turn. So, like, it's fine. Self buffing, you get everything you need. Increase crit rate. I just don't think it's that good. You're not really building your champions with less than 100% crit rates. So maybe you substitute that with like Shatter. That would be a good buff, I think. Maybe you add Shatter in there, or maybe, I don't know, Fervor or something like that. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, it's fine. You get the self buffs. It's on a long cooldown. You get them for 3 turns though, so that's nice. And then we get the extra turn, which leads into the block revive. Okay. On the passive, we've got Relentless Hunt. Heals this champion by 20% of the damage inflicted and places a revive on death. Every time they kill an enemy. This is for 2 turns. This is on no cooldown, so you can just get this every time you kill someone. Look, mythical champions, I think buffs they place should always be protected. I think that should be standard with mythical champions. I don't see anything wrong with that. You've got the Nices of the world with block damage, counterattacks, which are always, protected. You've got Geralt now who has a bunch of protected buffs. So I think that should just kind of be the norm with mythicals, in my opinion. These are supposed to be the best champions in the game. So I think protected buffs should be just standard. Having said that, Revive on Death is nice. She's a squishier champion, I think. So harder to keep alive. So having that revive can be nice, to be totally fair. She's got increased crit rate in all battles by 27%. I think this is the worst aura in the game. I think I might see what they were going for with this champion. Like maybe you have a little bit of fun and you build her with super low crit rate and super high attack and crit damage, and then she self buffs and she's got the aura. But I tried it and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. This would be much better if it were like an attack in all battles, speed in all battles, resist in all battles. Just something other than crit rate. I think, in my opinion, I don't know how you guys feel about crit rate in all battles. I think it's the worst aura in the game. So to have that on a mythical for me is really disappointing. Moving on from there into the alternate form. This is supposed to be more, so the base form I think is supposed to be more PvP focused, the alternate form more PvE focused, trying to give her a little bit of versatility. However, the alternate form you can obviously still use in arena as well. There's some cool mechanics in here. So this is on the A1 here, we've got Spirit of the Pack. It's an AoE that will not trigger counterattacks and places an extra hit on enemies under True Fear. So again, kind of like what I was talking about on the alternate or base form. They kind of did that on the base form. They kind of did it on the alternate form, so you have a potential 2-time AoE hitter here. On the A2, we've got Life Shredder. This is on a 4-turn cooldown, 3-1 booked. It's another 2-time hitter and places True Fear for 2 turns, and then it will not trigger counterattacks and will also ignore unkillable and block damage. That's all we've got on the active abilities. Then we have a passive here, Embrace the Beast, increases the champion's attack and crit damage by 20% while in their alternate form. And then that's it. So we've got a potential 2-time hitter on the A1, a 2-time hitter on the A2. Now the A2 on the alternate form will ignore unkillable and block damage, but of course you lose the block revive that you're getting on the base form. That's why I say that the base form was probably meant to be more of like an arena focus, and this one was probably meant to be more of a a PvE focus. However, there is a little bit of utility here. Now, the trade off is, or not trade off, another downside here is that you're going to be losing your buffs because you lose a turn of your buffs when you switch forms. So you'll go, like, for example, A3 into A2 into alternate into A2 on the alternate form. But the problem is by then you've probably lost your buffs unless you have an extender or you get lucky with an extension on like the masteries. Um, Something they might do if they ever decide to rebuff her. Maybe did I go over the passive increases champions attack and crit damage by 20% while in their alternate form? Embrace the beast. I don't know if I did. I have a short memory. I apologize. Something they could do, maybe add a little bit of like buff extension or just add another ability in here where you get those abilities back. Increase attack, increase crit damage. That would be kind of cool. I don't really know. But I did notice when I was playtesting her that especially in PvE, the buffs start to fall off. It seems like you work through them very quickly. So overall, I would say like there are parts of the kit where it shines. I just think that there's still a little bit left to be desired with the kit. So we'll go over that obviously when we play tester. I went defense. We actually might. I actually think. Why don't we go ahead and rebuild these? No, it's fine. No, it's fine. So I went ahead and went down the offensive tree here. So deadly precision, keen strike, and shield breaker. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go deadly precision for crit rate. I'm going to go keen strike for crit damage. But then I'm going to go shield breaker like I did before. But I'm going to go ruthless ambush to increase damage inflicted by 8% for the first hit on each enemy. I'm going to go for more of a PvP build. And then we'll go Whirlwind of Death to get some speed per kill. We'll go Cycle of Violence for a 30% chance to decrease the cooldown of a random skill by 1 turn if the damage inflicted by a skill exceeds 30% of the target's max HP. So we'll have, I'm not booking her, so we'll have long cooldowns, so that will hopefully help a little bit on the cooldown stuff. And then we'll go Kill Streak to get increased damage by 6% in Arena and Siege and 3% in other locations for each enemy killed by this champion across each round up to 12%. And then, of course, we'll finish with Helm Smasher, a 50% chance to ignore 25% of the target's defense, in addition to the amount ignored by skills. And then after that, we have a choice to make. So do we go support and pick up lasting gifts, right? It won't extend the revive on death, but it has a 30% chance to extend the duration of any buff cast by this champion by 1 turn. So a chance to extend the increased attack, crit rate, and crit damage. Or do we try to go damage mitigation, improved parry, for example, decreases damage received by 8% when this champion is hit with a critical hit. Now, I'll be totally honest with you, even if you get all of the damage mitigation stuff that's available here, you're still going to get killed pretty quickly. So I actually don't know if it's worth it to go defense. So I'm actually going to go with the support tree here. And so we'll go, she doesn't need accuracy, so we'll get a little bit of HP here. We will go, why don't we go, Exalt in Death, a little bit of healing when we kill enemies. We'll go rapid response because she does have quite a lot of buffs, so we'll have a 30% chance of increasing turn meter by 10% when a buff cast by the champion is removed or expired. Why don't we also go with Cycle of Magic here, a 5% chance to decrease this cooldown of a random skill by 1 turn at the start of every turn. And then we'll go Lasting Gifts like I wanted. But then why don't we have a couple choices here. So why don't we go for the alternate form? Why don't we go Methodical? I really like Methodical. You can increase the default skill's damage by 2% every time it's used during a battle, up to 10%. So especially that 2-time AoE hitter on the alternate form, I think that could be really good. And then we have a couple options here. I'm going to go with Opportunist, though, to increase damage to targets inflicted to targets with a crowd control debuff by 12%. I'm going to run her with Odin and Carolon in the arena. So that's going to be stuns and freezes. So we'll get 12% more damage, not for each. So it won't be 24 if you have the stun and the freeze, but either one will give us that 12% damage buff. Okay. So I don't have anything on the relic to give her the best chance that she has to do as much damage as possible. I'm going to put her in. I'm going to use the Star Stones. I shouldn't, but I'm going to do it because it's expensive. I'm going to put her in the Cat's Gaze. So we've got 31% crit damage, 155 attack, and 18% ignore defense when attacking enemies with a higher max HP. That's going to be most champions. She's an attack-based champion with, I would say, probably average or low base HP. So yeah. And then we've also got here 3% ignore defense if the target is under 2 or more debuffs. And then this one is actually a really good one. So double down when attacking targets under a crowd control debuff with their default skill, has a 10% chance to repeat the attack once. So again, even on the alternate form, that's really, really good because you can place True Fear or Fear. And I think she has that. She does have that, sorry, on her A2. And then you can go in and get a potential, that would be potentially a 4x hitter on that A1. That would be pretty cool. And then I actually don't know if we need this. No, I don't want to destroy it. We'll keep it on there, though, just because I don't want to use up a whole lot of gems for this. Starstones. Now, one thing I think I'm correct about this, but I'm pretty sure that the True Fear, I think it might be irresistible. I don't think it says it, but I think it might be irresistible because I don't have her built with a lot of accuracy. So we'll test that a little bit as well when we're in arena, especially because that'll be a good place to figure it out. On the build here, I've got lethal and stone skin. So lethal is giving us crit rate and ignore defense, and then stone skin is giving us a 4 pieces, giving us the stone skin buff at the start of each round, with a 50% chance of removing blocking removals and steal. So on the total stats here, we've got 36 on the HP, 51 on the attack, 21 on the defense, 244 on the speed, so a little bit slower. But we do have the stone skin, which is nice, and we've got crowd control, which is going to help us get around to our turns. We've got 100 on the crit rate, 292 on the crit damage, and 208 on the accuracy. So let's go ahead and head in there. Gold 5 Arena, we did just get a reset, so the teams probably aren't going to be super challenging, but that might not be the worst thing in the world because I just don't think that she's super great. We'll take it off auto, and then we're going to be running Donnie as well. To help get around to our abilities a little bit faster. So let's turn meter boost here, and then we have a couple choices here. So we'll lead off with this, and then I actually want to see if I can take out the reviver. So let's slow it down. No debuffs, nothing. We do have increased attack, increased crit damage, and we're getting what, 25, 40, 58, 58%, potentially 83% ignore defense here with Helm Smasher. And it's not enough. 24,000, so about 50,000 damage there. 50,000 damage there. I guess to be fair, Harima, I always forget this. Harima is cutting our ignore defense in half. So that would be 27% ignore defense or 39% with Helm Smasher. So let's try it again. Here we go. It's enough that time. 28,000. Okay. Let's go alternate form here. And then about 39,000 on each hit. So about 80,000 on the alternate form. Oh, okay, here we go. We got 3-piece Mercurials everywhere. That's unfortunate. Marius is gonna smack us around. Thankfully, he doesn't do that much damage. We can go turn meter boost. And let's try to block revive on the Marius here. And it's not enough. It's not enough. We don't have a, or we do have a cleanser, but I already used that. All right. Get a little control back. And we get True Feared, which is unfortunate. Let's go. How about this? Let's try. Look at Caroline getting the kill when Mezomel couldn't. And we're just getting perma CC'd now. Poor Mezomel is like totally out of the fight. Oh, because he had block damage up. Yeah, so pretty rough. Pretty rough there. Yeah. Pretty rough. And like, look, 5100 attack isn't a ton, but with increased attack, increased crit damage, and a bunch of ignore defense, like look at that, 26,000 there. Yeah, that's that. It's just not great. I mean, I guess we can. I guess I could have switched forms there, but whatever. Like 56, you know, it's better. So like if you have the drop defense, it's better. But you know, I don't know, man. 100K just doesn't seem like that much. The A1, which is a single target, is doing 70. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. Let me see. Here's a good team. So we got block damage here. So now we can maybe show off the alternate form because they've got some protected stuff. Hopefully we're fast enough. We are. So we're going to go increase attack, increase crit damage, increase crit rate. But then we're going to switch forms here. And then we get enfeebled and the poisons kill us. I forgot about Marius, so that's my fault. So there's really just nothing we can do about that. So there's a problem there, which is Marius switching forms, but then Nell placing those poisons as well. So that was just a bad matchup, in all honesty, for me. We get resisted. That's not great because now he's going to reset us. We can turn meter boost. We'll just have to switch forms. So the alternate form, in all honesty, like unless you're going up against a Marius, the alternate form might just be better. You know, you don't get the block revive, but the block revive feels like it doesn't do like any damage. So like we can go here, we can alternate. Let me slow it down to see what we do damage wise. Yeah, I mean that might just be the better option. You know, Nell, like I said, Nell is going to be a problem because she's going to intercept's a good one. She's going to place a bunch of poisons on us. So we can go here. Switch forms. I don't think one is going to be enough to kill us. No, it's not. Okay. Yeah, I mean maybe you just go alternate form. Maybe that's the play. we've got Stone Skin, so I think we'll be okay from the Calvalax. Caroline will probably die, but oh wow, lot of accuracy on that. A lot of accuracy on that Calvalax. That's crazy. So it doesn't matter. We're gonna die here, because the uh, Nell ignores block damage on the poisons. Like Nell is a great example. Nell is just a totally bonkers mythical champion. Like Empress is a totally bonkers mythical champion. And they just have so much in their kits that Mezomel really just doesn't have. But it does seem like, you know, weak affinity, so we didn't kill him. But it does seem like the alternate form is probably the way to go. Like to be fair, let's just do. To be fair, let's just do this. We'll just try it again. Um, let's try to block revive on the bomb champion. Okay, so 61,000. So he was a little bit squishier, but it worked. God, what is going on with my Donnie? Donnie's got so much resist. I feel like he shouldn't be getting all these. He shouldn't be getting all these debuffs placed on him. My Donnie's got like 900 resist. That's crazy. Oh boy. Jingwan's actually a good mythical counter now because of that AoE block active skills. Okay, some of these teams are pretty. Okay, here we go. This is a pretty tough team. Cool. Okay, can we block revive on the Marius? Yes, we can. Thank God he was squishy though, because we only hit for 25,000. I think we're dead here. No, we were okay. I was hoping we could steal some of those buffs. We can't. Let me do this. Yes, you're obnoxious. There's the block revive. What's going on there? Why can't I steal any of those buffs? All right. So we lose that one as well. Yeah, just a pretty I just think she's a really underwhelming champion. Like we barely got the kill. Barely got the kill on Marius. And like obviously Marius is no slouch. I gotta have Donnie's gotta be Donnie's gotta be I must be missing like his resistance banner or something like that. I'm just gonna try to end this fight. Now, against someone like Leo, you would think that she's a really good counter because uh she'll ignore the stone skin he places on himself. Yeah. That's a super squishy Leo though, to be honest with you. 90k. I did not expect to do that much damage. Okay. All right, I think let's go ahead and I guess we only have one more, so let's try this. We have one more fight. Let's see if we can. Now, Donnie is a really good counter because he'll prevent the death if you don't kill him on the first shot. So what I mean is like you have to trigger his passive with the first hit, otherwise he'll prevent the death. So if we go in here, yeah, so the first hit triggered the passive, but then the second hit got the kill. So that's good. But these are just really squishy teams we're going up against. Okay. Okay. So give me 1 second, guys. So that's going to wrap it up for Arena. Um, I don't know, man. I just think really, really underwhelming. Uh, some of the damage was abysmal. Um, she's got, the unkillable is nice, but like, I just think she needs more. I think she needs protected buffs. I think she needs something else. Maybe instead of unkillable, you get like block damage and block debuffs or something. I don't know, but yeah, it just needs a little bit more. So give me 1 second. I'm going to switch her over to the PvE build I have her in, and then we'll do some damage testing, and then we'll take her into Faction Wars because I would hope at least that she can help you clear out Faction Wars. So I will be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. Here's the PvE build we're going to be using for today. It's going to be a Slayer, 2-piece Slayer for increased crit rate and crit damage, 6-piece Merciless, which is going to give us a couple of things here. So a lot of attack, a lot of crit damage, and then also a 30% chance to decrease a random skill's cooldown by 1 turn when dealing damage, which is nice for those longer cooldowns. And then 35% ignore defense. And then the protection piece is just because it gives us attack with actually pretty decent defense, which isn't horrible because she's a squishier champion, but then attack percentage and speed on the substats as well. So total stats here, we're looking at about 36.6 on the HP, 74 on the attack, 23 on the defense, 224 on the speed, 326 on the crit damage, and 145 on the accuracy. So let's take her in to Dragon Hard 10. This is where I do my damage testing at. So we've got increased attack, increased crit damage with Mikage, who's going to help us keep those buffs up when we are in the alternate form. Donnie's going to help keep us alive and then reset our cooldowns. Drop defense weaken with Lydia, and then Fervor and an AoE revive with Glorious Palace. So we can just lead off here. Put out the drop defense and weaken. Turn meter boost. Place the Fervor, and now we actually don't have to start off with the A3 here. We can slow it down, and we'll start off with the block revive, and we do about 225, so about 500k. The damage isn't horrible with the block revive. It's pretty nice. It is on a single target though, so that's kind of a bummer. And then we'll just start resetting now. Let's see what we can do. We'll just extend real quick. Let's see what we can do on the A1 here. 180,000, pretty weak on the A1. And then we'll go ahead and switch to the alternate form next because the alternate form, I think, is better for PvE. I apologize. I'm tired. Okay, so we go, let's actually re-up on the buffs, and then we can switch forms. And now we'll slow it down, and let's see what we do on the A2 here. Boom, boom, 140, so about 300k. Is that right? 300k? I like the wolf howling effect. That is pretty cool, to be totally fair. Okay. So A1 here, we do have 1 True Fear. So let's slow it down, see what we do. 190. Oh, did it not place the extra hit? About 190 on that one. I thought it was extra hits on enemies under True Fear. Let me see. Places of True Fear. Oh, was it fear and not true fear? That might have been it. Okay, 190, 160. The damage, like, it's an AoE on the A1, so it's not bad, but does seem a little weak. Hundred and 60, 180. Problem is you can't place true fear on bosses, so that's something else. It's like, if you're going up against a boss, it would be nice to have a conditional, like, um, if the true fear wasn't placed, maybe it places decreased attack or leech or something. But yeah, 200,000 on that one. Now remember, like, a couple things to keep in mind is that she's not awakened at all, so that's something. Um, but I mean, look at Lydia, for example. Lydia's got War Master, and she's dealing 332,000 damage on the War Master proc, which is more than what our mythical attack based champion is dealing against this boss. 250,000 on the A1. So I do think that that's something to keep in mind, is that if your mythical champion is getting outclassed by War Master, which you can put on a rare champion, I do think that's a problem. And we've got all the buffs, right? Look at that, 267. That was about 400k, but that's barely more. Barely more than what Lydia's putting out. And then look at the damage here. You've got 2.6 million coming out of Mikage, 1.2 out of Donnie, 3.2 out of Lydia, and 5.9 out of Mezomel. The damage just seems not great for a mythical champion. Okay, so I just want to say that the damage just doesn't seem great for a mythical champion. We can go into skinwalkers here. Now, something I do want to test, we can go stage 1 here, because I do sometimes like to just throw in champions to see if they can solo it, so just to speed farm it. So what we'll do is we'll go alternate form, and we'll just see how they do on the alternate. And it does do quite a lot of damage. So we can go A1 here now. But because she's then look at that. She just takes a ton of damage because she's squishy. Ton of damage because she's squishy, and she dies. So, if we switch that out with like a Marius, for example, let me make sure Marius is built. If you go in with a Marius, now Marius is Void Legendary, but again, not a mythical champion. We can go here. Then we can go here. And then we go here. So, like, obviously, I'm fine with, like, Void Legendaries being really good. Marius is, like, arguably still one of the best champions in the entire game. But Mythicals are supposed to be on a different level than the other champions. That's the way I look at it. And so when you've got a mythical champion who's not just really being outclassed, but like being embarrassed by other legendary champions, or by just legendary champions, who have like War Master, right? Like that's all I put on Lydia, and she was putting out comparable damage. And the War Master was actually doing more damage against bosses than our mythical champion, who had, 7,400 or 7,500 attack, and with increased attack, doing like 10k attack, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm pretty disappointed with this champion. When I pulled her, I was immediately disappointed. When you think about some of these champions, some of these mythical champions that are in the game, like one of the new ones, the barbarian guy, Arnie. Look at this guy. So he's got an AoE with an extra hit if they're under Death Brand. Deathbrand gives us block revive, so it's a potential block revive on the A1, and then drops their HP and defense by 10% up to 30%. So permanent, doesn't work against bosses, but against tanky champions, that's really good. Look at this. A single target on a 3-turn cooldown before attacking places block passive skills and ignores 50% defense as well as block damage and unkillable. If the initial target is killed, repeats the attack against all enemies and ignores 25% defense, and decreases the cooldown of the Arctic Howl skill by 2 turns if the initial target is killed while under Deathbrand. Increase attack, increase crit damage, Deathbrand on all enemies for 2 turns, and grants an extra turn. This is for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown, which leads into more block revives, right? Enemies under Deathbrand receive 20% more damage and inflict 20% less damage. Immune to freeze, stun, and provoke. Whenever this champion is killed, revives them with 50% HP, 100% turn meter, and block damage for 1 turn. Now, he doesn't have protected buffs, right? Like I was saying before, none of these buffs are protected, but the amount of stuff that you're getting here is just insane, to a point where like I wouldn't even be upset about not having protected buffs because you're just getting so much. I mean, 100% turn meter and block damage. That's crazy. And that's just the base form, right? The alternate form, he's got a stun on a 2-time hitter, which is irresistible if he has higher HP than the target. He's got a provoke on an AoE for 1 turn, or if it's a boss, a 2-turn provoke, which is irresistible, potentially. Strengthen and counterattack on himself for 2 turns. He's got AoE drop defense, potentially irresistible. It deals single target attack, to each individual target, and ignores 30% defense and places an extra hit on bosses and enemies under stuns or provokes. And if the target is a boss or is under stun or provoke, it ignores 50% defense instead. I mean, like, the power creep is just insane, right? Look at how much they put into this guy's kit. Accuracy in all battles by 80, right? It's just night and day. So I really hope that they go through and they look at some of these just trash, like, and I'm going to say trash because I do think she's a trash mythical. And they look at someone like Arn, and then they look at someone like Mezomel, and they're like, okay, so we need to update this champion's kit to make her more in line with the power creep that we're introducing with these other champions. I mean, Deathbrand, let me go back real quick. Because Deathbrand is a block revive ability. So you've got on his base form, you've got 2 turns to kill any of those enemies. So he's basically an AoE block revive champion with block passive skills, ignore block damage, and ignore unkillable, and 50% ignore defense, and increase attack and increase accuracy. I mean, I don't know what to say other than that. I mean, hopefully they do something about it. I hope they do, because unfortunately, this is a pretty bad champion. So, guys, I'm going to go and end it there. I don't think it's worth taking her into much more content because she's just pretty bad. So, thank you guys so much for dropping by the video. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, this was not a very fun one, but hopefully informative for people who pull this champion. I would not recommend putting a whole lot of effort into her until they buff her. So thank you guys. Take care, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.